Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically Canada, even more specifically, just in hockey's. I am your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. We probably should preface that it is hockey in Canada, and that is the primary subject, because Lord knows there's nothing else to talk about these days.
Yeah, there is nothing. No baseball. That's not going to be resolved. They're pushing back the season. It sucks.
No end in sight, too. That's the thing that hurts the most.
Yeah.
Is that this is normally the time of the year where I start to plan my opening day menu and stock up on beers and what I'm going to do for opening day, because normally it's about a month away. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just eat a bucket of fried chicken and cry in the shower.
Like, talk about being just, out of touch with people, right? Because, baseball is, not the most popular sport. It is the third most popular sport, probably, in the States, you could say. Hockey is probably comparable. So the fact that, young people just don't care about this and it's just going away and no one really seems up in arms and it's not a news story should really make people concerned in that sport, I don't
want to get too political or anything. You're absolutely right. They are losing a lot of traction. But it's kind of analogous to the world in general. Basically, you have this elite group of people saying, no, we don't want to share our money. You're going to do what we want for what we want. Well, as an owner, I want half the money. You guys can eat plain sandwiches in the minors, and maybe one day, if you're good enough, you'll make more than $100,000 or more than $1 million a year. But otherwise, good luck not wasting the next 10 years of your life.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things, too, where because it's such a organization league, right? So it's very similar to, say, hockey and football, and I feel like baseball all kind of do the same thing where they promote the crest, right? The jersey, wear the jersey. This is the most important thing, right? The team, and they take away that player personality. It's just an unfortunate part of marketing, right? Whereas basketball, I think, is a little bit different because they promote players, right? You can just like James Harden, whether he's a Rocket or a Net for that blip, or now he's with the Sixers, and everyone's like, oh, look at these players, right? And you know what their faces look like, and But for some reason, those other sports, because they promote the brand and make it bigger, it's almost kind of on the players to have a more personality. It's almost on them to kind of seize that for themselves. So I don't know how you do it, but...
Well, definitely not the way baseball is doing it, because I couldn't name you one player who I would say that person has a sparkling personality.
Mike Trout might be the greatest baseball player of all time. If you ask the average sports fan, showed pictures of people, they may not be able to guess who Mike Trout is. It's that point where it's just I maybe know what a dozen baseball players look like. I watch sports all the time.
Yeah. Well, we're not here to talk about baseball and their stupid problems. We're here to talk about Canadian teams and their stupid problems.
I was going to say, the stupid problems that exist in hockey is where we're going. So if this is your first show, we do have headlines coming for you, so we're going to run around the league, try and keep up with the week that was, look ahead to the week that's going to be, some gambling advice, fantasy advice, maybe a game, maybe look at some boobs.
Yeah, maybe a sexy lady in there. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. NHL.com is where we're going to start off. Do I see anything out here that, I need to talk about? No. There was a story that popped up the other day, and I was like, what the heck's going on here? And I clicked on it, but it's, not one of the top stories, so we don't care.
We have the attention span of goldfish.
Yeah, it was a weird... All right, we're just going to go to the league, scroll down. Any big news stories happen this week? No one's playing in, a stupid arena somewhere?
Not until next season. Oh, yeah, no, that is this week. There's a, not the Heritage Classic, the Outdoor Classic. What do they call the outdoor game? Nashville, Tampa Bay tonight?
Yeah, there's Winter Classics, there's Stadium Series, there's... I don't know.
I believe this is the Winter Classic. I think. But it's in Nashville. And I saw pictures, and there's green grass and sunshine in Nashville. And that's not to diminish their winter. I'm sure Nashville winters are great, but Not what I picture when I think of outdoor hockey game.
It just, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, hopefully it works for them. It makes them money. I'm not the target audience for those things. I don't care. I remember there was that one game that was played in a blizzard. There was a blizzard somewhere in, like, Detroit or something, and you just couldn't see the ice. I thought that was a good game. There was that Lake Tahoe disaster last year where, like, the ice melted. Or 2 years ago.
Stop playing midway through the third, yeah. No, sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's it. That's my memories of it, so... Speaking of which, maybe you're playing a trivia game about that later, so...
I hate outdoor games, too. Well, everybody bet against me. If you're listening to this making side bets, take Mick. Mick is going to run train on this one. But there's also the... You know what? We'll talk about that later. It's a Canadian-specific, outdoor-themed headline.
All right, cool. All right, so we'll start at the bottom of the league. We get to the Montreal Canadiens that are still chilling in the basement, although they're only a point away from the Arizona Coyotes, so they could jump over the Arizona, the team that's going to play in a 3,000-person capacity arena next year, is only 1 point better than the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Yeah, that makes me a little upset for two reasons. One, we're talking about Arizona again, and two, why the fuck are we like? We can't go down the Arizona State University arena rabbit hole again. We spent at least 5 minutes talking about this last week.
Yeah. Like, it's just something I'm going to bring up continually, because it is actually the single stupidest fucking story I've ever heard in terms of hockey. It's a professional team. Like...
But, all right. I'm going to refocus Mick's attention on the matter at hand. Montreal Canadiens.
They started playing okay hockey. They got a new coach. St. Louis gave them some pep talks. They won some games this week. Like, they didn't look super. They beat the Leafs on Monday or something like that. They whooped their butts. Beat Buffalo later. I don't know if they won. They may have lost their last game. But
nope. 4 in a row.
4 in a row. So there you go. So they're on a bit of a trend. I mean, it makes sense. There are, like... We joke that these guys suck and there's nothing there, but, like, they still have some level of talent, right?
Yeah, it's basically a team. What I see right now is, like, a team of third liners. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah. And they're going to scrape it together, and if they catch it and they get hot, right, and they were hot this week, of course you're going to get some wins, so...
And you've heard me say this time and time again, players are a function of their system. And right now, whatever Martin St. Louis is doing is working. I did a little bit of a dive on them last night. It was after a few beers, so maybe my memory's not fuzzy or not 100% clear. But they are playing better hockey. Above, basically, outplayed 3 of their past 7 opponents under St. Louis. Defensively, they're trending up. Offensively, they're trending up. I haven't watched any games to let you know exactly what the difference is, but I do know that what he's implemented has made a difference for Montreal, and that's reflected in their outcomes. Maybe Carey Price, maybe this rejuvenates Carey Price to think, you know what, I do want to get a couple games under my belt this year, come play, test out the new coach's system, see how things go. But if nothing else, then at least you can point to the end of this season, hopefully, to say, you know what, we tried something and it worked.
100%. I think to get that positive momentum rolling before ultimately, like, you should shut it down. Like, we're almost, there's 30 games left. You're not making the postseason. That's apparent. So staying at the bottom is kind of ideal, right? It's that fine line between, like, you don't want to create a losing culture, but also that best odds at, like, the first overall pick is really nice, and it's a great way to kind of, like, inject some life into this organization. Go spend some money. Because I heard somewhere too that there was a news story that they're going to be very aggressive in free agency to help push this rebuild forward, which I don't know if is the right approach, Montreal. It's going to probably delay things, then you just get stuck with these, like, bad contracts. But
reminds me of the New York Rangers in the late 90s when they had Lindros and Yager and I can't remember even who else, but basically, like, tens of millions of dollars worth more than everybody else, and they just were basically scraped by. And I agree.
I don't know what the UFA class looks like coming up, but I don't think there's a lot of needle movers, so...
Yeah, and at what stage, they burnt enough bridges in the league that teams are willing to sewer them. Like, the Carolina Hurricanes actively sewered the Montreal Canadiens last year. And for a guy they play on the fourth line, and they have to pay $6 million next year just to prove a point. So maybe karma, they've got to unburn some bridges. Maybe that's the best analogy, or best way to put it.
So, like, as a Habs fan, I'm actively rooting against my team the rest of the year. That's me, right? Like, if they win out and they get, put up 91 points and they end up at the 8th seed, great. Probably not going to happen, So, but like, get to like 6th, then you just end up with kind of like one of those middle round top 10 picks, the middling top 10 picks there. It just doesn't develop, and sounds great. But let's move on to greener pastures. We have to jump all the way up to 26th in the league to talk about the up and coming, the frisky, the always truculent Ottawa Senators.
I have a soft spot in my heart for the Senators now, and it bothers me.
I feel you, buddy. Like, we do nothing but rag on this team, and like the baby Sens have kind of like grown on you a little bit, and you're like, oh, they're kind of cute.
They are kind of cute, and everything about the franchise, they've kind of done things organically. Yep. They've grown it up. I like their color schemes. Their jerseys look good. They're exciting. They're like, we talk about personalities in the intro, and like they've got personalities. Like Brady Tkachuk is probably one of the more recognizable, personalities in Canadian hockey. So I'm excited.
Well, and like the dichotomy of Brady Tkachuk comes off as he's kind of an aggressive power forward that's like an agitator, but he's like the heel you like to like, right? Like, he's the heel in wrestling. When he comes out, you want to cheer for. You want to, like, buy his t-shirt. Whereas his brother is the guy you're like, if you got to buy a car, actually would be completely fine. Like, he doesn't seem like a scumbag, right? Like, he's a dirtbag, but he's not a scumbag, so.
I love that distinction. Oh, God. You know what? One day you're going to write a dictionary, and you're going to make millions of dollars off of it.
There you go. So, yeah, no, I agree. I'm all on board. I'm happy when I see the Ottawa Senators win. Right? Once in a while, you're on the right side of a bet. When they're big underdogs, you're like, this team is like definitely not a minus, like a plus 200. Like, they should never be plus 200 in a game. They have that much talent, right? It's just things align. So
they've been buoyed by Matt Murray. I just want to say one last thing before we move on. Matt Murray, when the Sens signed Matt Murray, this is the goalie they thought they were getting, and he's playing that way. Yeah. And that means more good things are coming for the Sens.
Well, and goaltending is like, maybe, I mean, this could be a theme of the show. Goaltending is so important in hockey right now, and it's kind of underrated, where there is only 7 goalies that are actually good in the league right now, right? Like, we kind of ran through it top to bottom. Everyone else just kind of like, they definitely have weaknesses, right? And you see that, and your franchise is almost kind of does what your goalie does. Right? Like, you look at kind of the contenders versus the pretenders versus the really bottom teams. It really comes down to that goaltending. And
so basically what you're trying to say is you don't want to overstate the importance of goaltending, but if anybody fucking disbelieves me, I'm going to come at you with the aggression of a spider monkey.
It literally took the words out of my mouth. So. So we scroll up. Do we get anywhere? Because I don't think anything happened of note in Ottawa. We have to get to 21, though, which brings up the Winnipeg Jets. Speaking of quality goaltending, there might be one of those guys there in Hellebuck.
I disagree. Hellebuck's having a down year. He's not. And look, point no further than last night's game when they led 3-0 10 minutes into the game, and then they give up 6 unanswered. Random tangent. You know what fucking chaps my ass? People always say unanswered. They use this unanswered goals, but then the team goes and scores again. What you're describing is not unanswered. Last night there was 6 unanswered goals because the Winnipeg Jets did not respond. They were 6 unanswered. But like, people say they score 3 in a row and then someone else scores. It's like 3 unanswered. No, they literally answered after 3 goals.
Yep.
But anyways, irrelevant. Jets. I think this is it. I think that we're going to look back fondly on the Winnipeg Jets as a team that just that couldn't be.
The most underrated story in sports, and if there was better media coverage, maybe, and like that's a whole other can of worms. Like, Canada consists of 7 hockey teams. At times it appears there's like maybe 2, But if we had true equal coverage across the league and we treated like each team, and like Sports Center or something gave actual time to each team and we had like correspondence, Paul Maurice leaving this team and just abandoning them in the middle of a season when they were playing horribly, like they were still a top half of the league when he left. But the fact that he just took off, he was a stalwart. Something really bad is happening in Winnipeg. And that is just like the first sign, right? And if there was active reporting, I think you'd hear that things are going to get worse and worse and worse. So I think, unfortunately, that was kind of the unraveling, and it's just that unspoken story, right? So we just have to, unfortunately, watch our friends go down in flames.
We're still going to go pee on the forks, Mick. Don't you worry.
All right.
But what this problem boils down to is nobody wants to go to Winnipeg to report on the Jets.
Yeah.
Have you ever been
once.
Passed through?
Yeah, I went once, yeah. It was in the summer. It was awful. It was June. It was miserable.
Well, guess what? That's true any month of the year in Winnipeg.
Yeah, no, that is unfortunate. But again, like if they brought the gravitas and they built up the symbol and they did a better job of, I think too often they talk about trying to build up players, right? Like the players don't have enough personality in hockey, and hockey players are boring as fuck. But what they should do is they try and like do what football does, right? Like who wants to play in Green Bay, Wisconsin? But they built up this Packers logo to be this iconic symbol, this like relic of the past, this like legendary establishment. Well, just do that with like Winnipeg. Jaguars. They even built the Jaguars back. Look at this legendary Jaguar team that plays in Florida. No one cares about the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? No one cares about the Winnipeg Jets. Build them up, NHL. That's what you got to do. Is you got to pump up the jerseys.
So they need an owner with a sweet mustache and a greasy quarterback who is just walking controversy, and the Winnipeg Jets will be destined for great things.
That's literally what we're getting at. But yeah, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna watch this plane slowly crash land for the next maybe year or two.
Yeah, everybody off. Everybody get out. It's time to restart.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see how they do. Now, fortunately, the team does seem like they have a good track record and they have a lot of prospects. We talked about it in the past, so maybe it's just more of a retool, right? As they say, move some of the bigger pieces, bring in some other young guns, kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I'm never shocked when I'm like the Winnipeg Jets' best defenseman is Josh Morrissey. That is all you need to know about why this team let 6 goals unanswered in.
We probably shouldn't let Nate Schmidt get away with not being mentioned. Although Nate Schmidt has slowly, I've warmed up to him, I would say, but that's only because he's like, how I have this underdog complex. Yeah. Nate Schmidt is the defenseman. You're like, come on, Nate. And it just never works out.
No, it's a lot of, he tried hard today. But there we go. That's stupid. Oh, great. I get to scroll up 2 spots to Vancouver at 19. Still in the bottom half of the league, guys.
But slow progress. And progress that needed to be made because this team, the first half of the season, or not even half, first third of the season, whenever let Travis Green go, back in December, start of December, whatever it was, it's night and day. Like this team, you could point to, we're outside of the playoffs and this sucks. And you know what? It does suck because you've got a young, talented team. But they are trending positively, and if nothing else, they're going to compete throughout. You even saw it, what was it, Thursday night? Was it the 7-1 victory over the Flames? Yep. This is not a team that would have brought that level of compete early in the season. So Bruce Boudreau is accomplishing things with the Canucks, and that's reflected in the metrics, it's reflected in the on-ice product. And if it gives, again, maybe hope for next year that a full season, it's akin to Calgary this year. Compared to last year. And Calgary had Daryl Sutter to end the season. Things got a little better. Maybe that's what Vancouver has to look forward to next year.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's up or down. They might be buyers at the deadline. They might be selling stuff at the deadline, right? So it's time will tell kind of where this team goes. But yeah, I think this year, like Grant said, is just kind of that positive reinforcement for next year where they kind of build from. And
you did bring up something worth expanding on, and that is buyers versus sellers. I think maybe we alluded to this. I'm very clear in my mindset that they need to be sellers. They need to maximize the return on JT Miller and bring back as many complementary pieces as they can. JT Miller's great, but like I said, he's kind of, I don't want to say the outlier on the team, but when I look at the rest of the forwards on the team, I think of more, young, skilled players, and that's not to say that JT Miller can't be the presence that, because he's been there, he's won, maybe he elevates them. But I think that they'd be better off in the long run moving on from Miller and grabbing some pieces for,
And I agree 100%, except for the fact that I feel like when Miller came in, he was kind of a spark either last year or 2 years ago that propelled them into a playoffs, right? And like the playoff success is a part akin to Demko's play as well as Miller's leadership. So just like casting that role out of the locker room, who's going to step up, right? Like it's that extra intangible. It's not just what he does on the stat sheet. It's kind of all the other stuff I think he does with those young kids. And I mean, also their asking price is more for, like, they're asking more for Miller than the Vegas paid for Jack Eichel.
Well, yeah.
Like that's the one thing I'm like, didn't Jack Eichel move for like a first and like 2 prospects, and they want 2 firsts and two prospects? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like, no offense to JT Miller, but Jack Eichel's definitely a better hockey player. So,
all right. So would you do JT Miller and a pick for Jack Eichel? Let's play this hypothetical game because let's say no. Like I would need JT Miller, a first round pick, maybe a prospect or 2, right? Like Jack Eichel's like a cornerstone of a franchise. Yeah. At least he's been portrayed as such. Yeah. He hasn't lived up to the hype.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like in Buffalo, that's where he was. Like outside, he's going to be like much better, right? Like depending what your organization is.
Yeah, I think I agree. I was just playing devil's advocate. I think Eichel is absolutely the better hockey player. I just thought maybe I'd get you a little riled up there. I was expecting more throwing or like more hulking, but
no, I don't really care that much. Well, let's keep going up. Ooh, hey, look at this. Top half of the league, 16. That's our cutoff. That means the Edmonton Oilers are one of the best hockey teams. If you count the metrics as 16 is above his best, so.
Not the worst.
The worst. It's not bad.
This team just continues to be undone by goaltending. Like, oh man, even... So their most recent outing was against Tampa. Obviously, this morning notwithstanding, I don't even know what the score is. But their last outing against Tampa is analogous to what we've seen from them over the last month or so. No, even well before that. Is that they compete, they bring this level of, elite production to basically any game, and then their undoing is questionable goaltending. It sucks. Mike Smith is great. He helped them do awesome things last year. He's a 40-year-old goalie. Like, what do you expect him to do? You can't. And even a scenario today where they're playing first night of a back-to-back, first day of a back-to-back, rather. You got to go Koskinen Smith or Smith Koskinen. Like, how do you actually weigh that? And typically, analytically, you save your primary goalie for the second day, and that kind of implies that Mike Smith is the primary goalie in Edmonton. And that just chaps my ass because, like, objectively, Koskinen has been better. He deserves the starter's crease. We can't continue to languish with Mike Smith and hope that good things are going to happen because they're not going to happen.
My earlier point of goaltending is so important. Vancouver is definitely one of those organizations just struggling a little bit with that, right? And, like... I don't know what the solution... I mean, you could trade for a goalie, I guess.
Man, that's basically the dilemma that is facing the Oilers. Who do you move on from to secure that goaltending? Is it a guy like Kailer Yamamoto, who hasn't quite lived up to that elite, scorer hype? Is it a guy like, one of your young defensemen that you now have an embarrassment of riches on the blue line? Maybe it's easier to part with one of them. I don't know, but it's time to try something different because goaltending remains the limiting factor for the Edmonton Oilers.
Could you imagine if for some reason the Oilers would have just taken a swing at Carey Price in the offseason?
Don't do this to me. You know what? Fuck you, Mick. Here I am, living in reality, dwelling in my own self-hatred of the Oilers fandom, and here a glimmer of optimism of what could have been. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, it still could be, right? Like, maybe Carey Price is like, he's not going to come back for a non-playoff team, but he'd come back for the Oilers.
And so this is...
I mean, he's like, I want to come back to have, like, so much pressure on me that it just collapses my, like, all my work I've done on myself, and I fall back into my substance abuse issues. Cool.
So here, you've done it. You've got me optimistic. I was like, they could do it, man. They could bring Carey Price in. He's on the injured reserve. Do what every other team is doing. Mm-hmm. Put him on the injured reserve till playoffs, and guess what? All of a sudden, cap flexibility isn't an issue. In fact, it would afford them flexibility because they could use that to count down their salary and have more room to bring in even somebody else like a Jack Eichel. Could you imagine? Top 2 picks, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid.
It's not bad.
I'm only partly being serious, but a shred of me is serious.
Oh, I can tell that there's tongue in cheek, and there's a lot of tongue in that cheek. So. All right. Edmonton. Flames are probably coming up next, I'm guessing. Oh, we're top 10, and I don't see them yet. Oh, there they are, at 9. Oh.
That was an exciting climb, though, I imagine. I felt the excitement.
Kind of, sort of. I was like, oh, these are some good teams we're getting into. So Flames, top 10. Playing pretty well. They had a losing 10-game winning streak snapped against the Canucks, like Grant said. But then I think, did they go on to win the next game, or is tonight the next game after the snap?
Tonight is the next game. And my feelings remain unchanged on the Flames, and I'm excited to see what they do this year, because this is kind of the year that it's all coming together for old Daryl Sutter and the Frisky Flames. Defensively, offensively, things seem to work. Jacob Markstrom's playing, doing what they signed him to do. Again, we mentioned this last week. This is it. This is kind of like, this is elite production window for the first 2, maybe 3 years of the contract, and we're probably expecting regression. So make it count, Flames. This is it.
All right, and then the Toronto Maple Leafs at 6. Look at that. Ooh. Probably can't get to the President's Trophy. They're about 10 points back from Colorado, and they're 6 points back of first in their own division. So we'll go to wild card. I think they're probably set in 3rd.
I believe it goes Tampa, Florida, or is it Florida, Tampa, Toronto in the Atlantic?
Yeah, Florida, Tampa, Toronto. Yeah, but all top 6 in the league, so that's fun. Bit of a stumble this week. They lost to the Habs, and then they lost to Columbus. Back-to-back games. Normally I'm an emotional gambler, so I'll throw $5 against the Leafs just for S's and G's. And for some reason, Montreal, I saw minus 500, and I was like, no way you're losing that game. And instantly, within 10 minutes, 2 seconds of the game, I was like, I screwed up royally. That's too bad. So
that one did sting. I was on the other end of that coin. For 2 reasons, and I think I chatted a little bit about it last week. This was inevitable. This was the inevitable collapse that I was expecting from Toronto, because they were just overachieving relative to their metrics. You can't do what they did for an extended period of time, and that is score 5, 6, 7 goals with decreased or diminished offensive production. I don't think that it's done, and I can talk a little bit more about that in the next couple segments. I think that before Toronto has more good outcomes, and I know that they won their last one. What was it, a 3-1 victory over whoever?
They beat Minnesota. Minnesota's a above average team, right? They're top 10, so they have glimpses. It's just, their goaltending is weak, and you saw that against Campbell and Mazarek sucked against the Habs and the Blue Jackets, and that's kind of as much analysis as you want. It's kind of what it boils down to. Also, sometimes you just lose games, right?
Yeah, but their offensive, their production metrics, I don't disagree with you. Goaltending is basically, it's not as bad as the Oilers, but goaltending is the weak spot on the Leafs. But their production metrics have also suffered recently. And before output spikes again, they're going to need production to get going. So I suspect we're going to be in this little this little cavern, I don't know what to call it, of decreased output. That's not to say that they're going to lose all their games, but I don't think we're going to see those big, 7-goal performances like we did weeks ago, because it's just from a numbers perspective, it's not going to balance out. I can't see them sustaining what they've done over the past few weeks. So expect some more low-scoring games while they figure things out on offense. And it's not to say that they're not going to, but until they get their production back up where they can have it, I think we're going to see more depressed output from the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, and I mean, they did lose Muzzin in the Blue Jackets game, and I think he got hurt a couple years ago in the playoffs. That weird playing around during the COVID bubble or something like that too. Muzzin's a big part of that defense, so him being gone definitely hurts that. Goaltending can be wishy-washy, but on the plus side, I think Muzzin has actually gone into long-term IR, which frees up a bunch of cap space for the Toronto Maple Leafs, which now indicates that they might be bigger players at the trade deadline than they normally would have. So, and what do I know this? Because all our media sources just talk about the Leafs all the time. They don't talk about anyone else. So, great.
It's this new way of addressing injuries. I thought we were going to see some sort of rejigging of the system because teams continue to do this. But this is just common practice now. This is just how teams finagle. Guess what? You have an injury close to the end of the season, you're not going to see them until the postseason. I guarantee it. That's the case with. That could be the case with Muzzin. That could be the case with Stone. I'm sure there's a few other names that I can't think of about off the top of my head to just say, you know what? We're saving a playoff spot. We're going to add a piece, and then you're going to come back in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We have a doctor who's going to sign off to say that you're not ready to play between now and then.
Yeah. Exactly right, and we're going to see something, some movers or shakers, right? They obviously know that they've been aggressive in the past. It hasn't always worked, right? But you kind of keep taking those swings. Eventually, it should work, right? You should do something. They lost out first for Foligno last year, but a couple years ago, Tampa Bay getting Barclay Goodrow, right, for a first worked out for them. So you don't always need to hit that out of the park, right? So
this is analogous to Bartolo Colon.
Yeah,
we for 20 years saw Bartolo Colon take hack after hack after hack, and finally Bartolo Colon sent one, and it was all worth it. And maybe that's what we're going to see with the Leafs this year.
Yeah, I think so. So it'll be interesting to see. Keep an eye on, right? It's kind of excited to see. They're in the playoffs. They do have the wild card position here. So the East is going to be very light in Canadian content. But the West, Flames are first. The Pacific, Oilers right there in the wild card spot. Vancouver's sniffing a spot. Winnipeg. We'll get some action in the West. But that is it for headlines for the week. So you're all caught up. You know what happens?
We get more excitement to delve into next week, and B+ analysis with that's C- analysis after another exciting week of action.
That's kind of all you're getting here. As things pick up, we'll have trades to talk about. Wasn't there a trade? I think actually, was it last Saturday when they lost to the Blues? They traded that defenseman Lubnushki or something like that. Traded Nick Ritchie to the Coyotes, got back a defenseman, and Dzingel, which they then waived. But we forgot about it. It was so long ago.
Labushkin?
Labushkin,
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, Labushkin's being held out. I was like, what the fuck? Who cares? And then, of course, after the game, it was like, well, somebody knew what was going on.
Well, I didn't. But basically, Ritchie, this $2 million was just going to be buried in the AHL against the Caps. So they got rid of it, brought in a guy, freed up some space, and is a player of need.
All right. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. But
let's move on to, now that we know what happened, let's talk specifically about players, My Dirty Fantasy, getting a little fan duel. So we put together a weekly contest. We have to brag about how well we did the previous week, because I think I won some money.
And no thanks to me, I would say.
I
think I talked you out of something. A very important piece. I'll let you recap, though, and then I'll lament.
So if we look here, I'm this guy right here. I am 5th out of 51, which isn't bad. So I ended up with $4. So I times forward my money instead of times 10. I was about, 40 points away. If we look, I hit on tons of pieces. Mike Kopitar, Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, William Nylander with his 2 goals in the St. Louis loss last week was huge. The rest of my team kind of levels off. And Thatcher Demko sitting there with minus 12. As long as we don't remember that Jeff Swayman was in my lineup at the start of the podcast, and I ended up moving, I think it was like Charlie McAvoy for a defenseman who also, I think he got 4.8 points. My defenseman that I replaced him with got 4 points, so I ended up with plus 0.8 points. And Demko hurt me because I think Swayman won. If we look at this guy, I bet you, do you have Swayman?
It went off to overtime that game, and Swayman did win.
He did win. So we're looking at a plus, so 27.2 for Swayman and my minus 12.8 on Demko. So what's that, a 40-point swing? What's the difference between me and first? About 40 points?
Yeah, I was so proud of myself, too. I'm so sorry, Mick. God damn me.
Oh, I mean, I've said for the last, 3 or 4 shows, I make it the night before, leave it, don't tinker. Anytime I tinker, it actually ends up screwing me over. I still got $4. I'm okay with that. I still think I, went above and beyond. And, my forward group, that William Nylander swap that I did on the show. It was like an Italian making pasta. Mwah.
Chef's kiss.
How'd you do?
Terribly. Here I was, so proud of myself. I thought I convinced myself I had the winning lineup. You know what? I wasn't wrong with Elias Pettersson. We both weren't wrong. 33.3 points. That was basically David Pastrnak got a goal, 4 shots, 18.4 points. I'm not going to talk about Jordan Kyrou, 4 shots, 1 assist, but he was my next biggest point producer. Everyone else was shit. Sean Monahan hung a goose egg. Oh, that one stung.
Yep.
But not worse than Thatcher Demko. 9 saves, 5 goals against, minus 12.8 points. I hate myself for that.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
But we don't live in the past here on the Canada Puck Podcast. We live in the here and now. And Mick, I'm not going to talk about how good my roster is, even though I'm confident in my roster yet again. But I am excited about to hear about who you got lined up for tonight.
I didn't even mention Adrian Kempe. 41 points. This is a utility guy. I just threw him in for S's and G's. So today I kind of started like I always do, in goal. And I said, okay, I need a win. That's what I need. The Kings played last night. The Islanders did not play last night. My strategy has been fade the team on the back-to-back. So I'm taking Ilya Sorokin at $7,600 over the Kings tonight in net. Frees me up for essentially a lot of extra money. If we work kind of up from there, I have a Montreal Canadiens stack of Brendan Gallagher and Mike Hoffman against the Senators tonight at $44,000 and $4,500. Not terrible for potential point production. On defense, I have Moritz Seider, little German boy, there at $6,500 against the Leafs. Little German boy. And Noah Hannafin, $4,700, which means I have a lot of money up front. Evgeny Dadonov against Colorado. Both teams played tonight, so I don't know how to predict that if both teams played the night before. They both can't lose tonight. But Dadonov, $4,600. Not terrible. Sean Monahan, third line center against the Wild. Maybe he doesn't put up a goose egg tonight. Maybe at $4,100. And essentially that leaves me with 2 max spots. So right now I have Nathan McKinnon, Kaprizov, but I don't like that. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take Mikko Rantanen on wing, and I still can't get Austin Matthews. Like $300 short of Austin Matthews.
Well, here, let me run through my stuff and lead you astray again so you can afford Austin Matthews.
And I apologize for just how boring that was. Of me talking about it. I had no energy and I was just, so I apologize. But there, it's on the screen. You can see what's going on.
I'm shooting from the hip a little bit here. Not really. I'm going with what I like, what I'm trusting my gut on, and that is I like Detroit tonight, and I like the Ottawa. I like Ottawa-Montreal to be a high-scoring game. I'm not convinced Ottawa wins it. In fact, I think there's probably value in playing Montreal. More on that later. But I still think that there's going to be goals scored, and I'm willing to bet that Brady Tkachuk factors into the scoring. I'm going to just take a shotgun approach here. He's actually in a utility spot, but his teammates that I've aligned him with are Eric Brandstrom. I was let down by him last week a little bit. I still like his upside, and I think that he will factor into scoring. And somehow Colin White finds his way onto the score sheet. So I'm expecting him at $3,800 to exceed his implied value against a crappy, subpar Montreal Canadiens team. I've also, along with Brady Tkachuk, I've also taken Matthew Tkachuk. I've got the Tkachuk twins. There's probably a good pun in there, and I know they're not twins. Tkachuk brothers. Calgary at home to Minnesota tonight. I've talked about how highly I think of Calgary. I don't think that changes tonight. I think we're going to get a good game, potentially an overtime game, but I like Calgary to come out on top. I've also got Johnny Gaudreau, line mate, paired with Tkachuk. I like correlating points, so that one kind of made sense to me. From a Detroit perspective, Tyler Bertuzzi, I can't get enough of Mr. Unvaccinated himself. He just seems to, when I need him, he produces. I'm expecting him to produce tonight. He's been great at home. Same with Nedeljkovic. Better at home than on the road, and I'm hoping that pays off against the Leafs team, like I said, that I'm expecting to press scoring from. That leaves me 2 spots, one of which is filled by Braden McNabb. I know Colorado's playing the Knights. There's probably, a ton of people who value backing the Colorado Avalanche, but I've taken a stance against them over the past few weeks, and eventually it's going to pay off. Either that or Anastasia's not going to university, one of the two. And lastly, Charlie Coyle. Boston playing good against a San Jose team that just, averse to defense, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking Boston finds a way onto the score sheet, and Charlie Coyle hopefully incorporates himself in the scoring.
So I completely changed my roster while you were talking, and I've changed everything around. So I ended up with Brad Marchand over the winger. I think it was Rantanen. So there we go. We like maybe some scoring in San Jose tonight. Brad Marchand coming back off of suspension. Maybe he's got some fire in his step. Seems like a pain in the ass, which gets Austin Matthews at that $10,200 into my lineup, which then means I could take my little German boy Moritz Seider out for Alex Pietrangelo. I don't like that. I actually saved some money on that play, so I like that. And I ended up with extra money. So I could go from Mike Hoffman, and I'm like, not really sure how I feel about that one. And I could get a Tim Streutzel, so I could get my little German boy into my lineup after all, or I could get with Alex Kerfoot. I'm going to go with the little German boy, Tim Streutzel himself, and save him.
We just ended up on so many watch lists, just so you know.
Why? What's wrong with little German boys?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So, there we go. So, did we learn anything? No, we learned nothing.
just makes love of little German boys. But
well, it's not a love; it's a fascination, if anything. So,
notwithstanding, I like your tweaks. I think that you're well positioned. You seem to figure this out. You figured this out a little better than I have this year. So hopefully, maybe I should be taking your advice and stop shooting from the hip with these, Brady Tkachuk and Tkachuk brother lineups.
They work sometimes. Sometimes, I did that one night where I had like Pierre-Luc Dubois and Patrick Laine in my utility spot, and they both went off for like 40 points, and I was like, that seems like a genius thing to do. So,
well, every once in a while I capture lightning in a bottle. We'll see if it happens tonight. But if nothing else, at least we had fun talking about it.
That's true. I don't have any Islanders, and I assume the Islanders are going to win, so I'm not sure how they're going to win. Maybe 0-0 shootout? And that kind of gets me with my goalie there. But that ends that advice. Hopefully, the idea with this segment is, in theory, you should listen to us, take bits and pieces, build your own lineup. So we found the most success kind of talking with a friend, right? So me and Grant talk through it. I make those tweaks. Probably going to be a little bit more successful. Although sometimes I have really good lineups and then I make changes, and I always make changes, and I shouldn't make changes. I guess
trust those initial instincts.
Yeah, what I should do is I should make a second entry right? Like, leave my first one cemented in stone and then make a brand new entry based on, like, what we talk about. So it's, like, same but, like, different. And I'd probably actually see more success that way, so...
That would actually be the smartest thing that we've done on the Canada Puck podcast. Even if we wanted to take it a step further, you do a lineup, you do your backup lineup, I do a lineup, and then we did like a collaborative or a composite lineup.
Yeah.
Man, maybe we should talk more about that.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it as is, but like maybe in the future, maybe I just leave my lineup set in stone instead of a new one. So that's exciting. But you know what else is exciting? Gambling. Winning on hockey games specifically. Nothing feels better. Feels great. Last week... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, the sports book I'm looking at literally just took all their odds off the table. I am looking at just a blank sheet. Really? But anyways, cool. Do you see that on your end?
I'll check on my phone. So we're into Bettor Advice. So we have a gambling segment. What we do is we take 100 theoretical dollars each and every single week. We gamble it all across the world of sports. That could be one game. That could be 20 games. There's not that many hockey games ever, but we could do it if we wanted. And we keep tabs on how we do. We try and win you money. Right now, I'm looking pretty good. I think I actually won like $30 last week. I'm up to over $500 on the season. Good job, me. I think my one hit last week where I was Blues Flames or something like that, parlayed them together. Return was over $100. Yeah, $121. So I netted 21 whole bucks. Ain't not bad.
That ain't not bad is right. I finally got off the schneid, won a little bit of money too. Boston, Ottawa hit as an overtime wager. Calgary obviously got things done at home. Let down by Vancouver in what I thought could be, and that was my undoing. So basically, well, what did that put me up? I was up, I think, about $30. I don't have more concrete calculations than that. I think that puts me, I think I'm up on the year. I might be hovering right around the break-even point, but that hasn't stopped me from letting her rip on Saturdays, and I've got more planned today. I'm just switching around sports books to see if I can find active odds.
I have one that's up, so it must be a site-specific thing, not like a horrible news is coming into the hockey world or something.
That's my first thought was like, did they just cancel the rest of the games today? But they wouldn't do that, not to a Winter Classic. Gary Bettman's smarter than that. He knows that he makes millions of dollars.
There's a threat of World War. We were going to shut things down, but we got to let this one game run so we're not all playing in 3,000-seat arenas next year. Is that what you want, guys? Do you want everyone to play in that arena? No. Oh, are you threatening us?
Nashville needs outdoor hockey.
Yeah, that's what everyone says in Nashville. Is we need hockey.
Okay. I want to be able to. I think hockey should be played in Tootsies. But anyways, I got 4 picks today. How many picks do you have?
I got 4. Cool.
You know what? I want to hear what you got first.
All right, so I'm thinking underdog. It's going to be an underdog kind of day. So I just went hunting me some dogs. Most obvious pick, I think you have to go. The team that played last night, they're going to lose. They're tired. The Kings, they don't want to play hockey. They want to sit in their hot tubs, check out the beach, go to Lilith Fair. I don't know what the Kings players want to do, but that's what they want. That's where they're going to go. Unfortunately, that means the Islanders are going to just mop the floor with them. So at plus 105, $30 is going on the Islanders to straight up win.
I will remember your picks.
That's my jam. That is my jam. Thanks, Dowdy.
You know what? We don't have enough Lilith Fair references on our show. But I'm not a bitch, and I am here to let you know that my first pick is also an underdog pick. I've mentioned this previously. Detroit Red Wings. Consistency is an issue for young teams. That's not unique to Detroit, but we have been getting more consistent efforts from them over the recent outings. Outplayed 6 of their past 9 opponents. Better on home ice, better structure. They get their lineup matchups. Again, Toronto, I'm expecting some decreased output. We've talked a little bit about goaltending. Goaltending has been an issue. I think it's this perfect storm that just sets up Detroit for success tonight. Plus 175 was the last price that I saw on them, but I'm betting $25 that they leave victorious.
I got them at plus 170. I also have $30 on the Red Wings tonight.
Is this from an emotional angle, or is this a wholehearted belief?
Well, I think the Leafs are definitely not playing the best hockey and getting plus money. Like overtime, like did they lose in overtime tonight? Maybe, right? And then you kind of like, well, it was close, right? Like maybe they come back from a 2-goal deficit, overtime, lose, and you're like, so it's kind of like a feel-good loss, right? But I kind of think that's kind of where the Leafs are just playing hockey this year, right? And they're up and down. Bet the dogs, get money. It's easy, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not going to argue with any of that. I am also going to throw another home underdog your way, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights. Colorado has been playing above their means for an extended period. What is it? 2 regulation losses, basically over the last 30 games almost. They've reached this unsustainable level where they continue to outproduce. And this is why I'm convinced that they're going to shit themselves in the playoffs, because you can't sustain this level of production over an extended period, and they keep going beyond what I think is a reasonable time frame. They've been on the road. This is not what is it, 4th and 6th nights? I can't remember, but they've been playing more hockey, lots of travel. All of this is going to factor in. It's second night of back-to-back after last night's loss too. Last night's victory. I think Vegas is going to be ready to play, and I like them at home in this spot at plus. I had it at plus 135. Okay. I think I don't see the lineup right now, something like that. But Vegas gets it done on home.
All right. Speaking of, like, those are 2 top teams playing each other. What if 2 bottom feeder teams duked it out? What would happen? What would be the end results if you had a crappy bottom feeding Canadiens team fighting a fun-loving, scrappy, but also bottom feeding Senators team? I don't hate the Canadiens home road dogs plus 140. Another $30 goes that way because everyone sucks.
You suck.
You suck, and you suck, and you suck, and you definitely suck.
That is a perfect segue into my sucky overtime pick. I am once again going to the overtime well in Montreal, I guess in Ottawa, as the Sens played the Habs. I think that sometimes my perspective is, my perspective is that when 2 top teams play each other, and it's akin to what might happen in, or what might be expected in Vegas tonight, you get this like awesome hockey game that needs overtime. The opposite is true too. When you get 2 sucky teams, they just suck it out until you get to the 60th minute and they're like, I'm gonna suck less in the overtime. And that's basically where my thought process is. Montreal playing good hockey. St. Louis hasn't put it in the right direction. They're on the road against a Sens team that is outplaying their metrics. They've been exciting. They're winning games. That's great. But they're doing so unsustainably, and they continue to get outplayed at 5-on-5. I don't see this one being sorted out in regulation. Plus 330 that this game goes to overtime or a shootout.
Sweet. Yeah, I can see that. And what a sucky analysis, by the way. Now, my anchor dart throw, if you did the math, 30 plus 30 plus 30. Leaves me only $10 left on the table, so I had to take a big swing on this one. Big old swing. I'm going to take my anchor. I'm going to call the Islanders my little anchor team. I'm going to take them. I'm going to take an under. I think, both these teams, Vegas, Colorado, they played last night. Maybe they're tired, Maybe it's, could we see under 6 goals? I'm going to go with under the total there. I'm also going to take under in the Calgary Flames game. Even odds for both of those. Parlay it all together. You get plus 720. I'm going to put $10 on that.
The old classic Mick parlay. I was waiting for it. I kind of had a feeling, especially once you got to $90, it was like, all right, we're getting the classic Mick catalog of.
You got to parlay at least a little bit of parlay, just a little tiny one.
So, and I thought you would be expecting that from me as well today. So I've abandoned it. Fuck you. I'm not taking it. I'm way ahead of you. But I do like one of those picks that you included in there, and that is the Calgary Flames. I think they were around minus 150-ish, something like that. $25 left. I'm betting $25 that Calgary knocks off Minnesota. I know they're on this, off a tough loss, but they're back on home ice. Minnesota, another team that's been road weary over their recent stretch. I think maybe they're caught a little off guard by Calgary's strong defensive presence, and Calgary isn't as bad as we saw last time. So maybe a bit of a bounce back spot from them.
Sweet. And both those over-unders, I have them at 6. So I got my even odds at under 6 goals, which I kind of hate. I hate when it's like a whole number. I like me at 0.5, but I'm not going to overthink things.
Nope, can't overthink it. I agree. I also do. I hate pushes. It just seems like, why did I waste all my time and energy for nothing? Literally nothing. I'd rather lose money than get my money back. But anyways.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So that's it. So that is our 4 picks. That is our money. Hopefully use those our thoughts, our bets wisely. Pick and choose. Maybe add something to a ticket here or there. Sprinkle some money around. And don't come after us for lawsuits. But that is. Oh no, where are we? I squished my screen, and now it's all different. All right, so Grant. Sometimes we open cards. Sometimes I force Grant to play trivia. It is an outdoor classic today. We get to see beautiful spring hockey in Nashville. What more could you ask for? What Grant has to do is he has to answer some trivia questions about outdoor NHL games. Are you excited?
I hate this so much. If there's one thing I don't pay attention to, it's All-Star games. If there's 2 things I don't pay attention to, it's these money grab ideas that outdoor hockey is the best way to watch it. Oh, we didn't even talk about this. And I told her, I left an Easter egg at the start. But quickly, the Leafs jerseys for their Heritage Classic in Hamilton, I like them. We can just leave it at that, though.
Yeah, that's. I'm not a big fan of a big jersey fan either, but I saw those and I was like, those are pretty sharp. All right, I don't hate that. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you the teams. I'm gonna tell you how many teams have played in the most games. So it's not like guessing the most, and then we're gonna play for 4. You have to give me top 4 of wins and losses based on this list. So you might even be able to logic yourself into something. 3 strikes. You basically have to tell me 8 teams, wins and losses. All right. I'm going to give you the list right now. So this is number of appearances in outdoor classic games. And they're mostly modern since 2009, 2008 forward. Ready?
I'm not paying attention, but you can go ahead and talk at me.
All right. So the number of appearances. So I'm going to give you 8, and then we're going to play for who has the most wins and most losses. So the most is the Chicago Blackhawks have had 6 appearances. Okay. We've got the Philadelphia Flyers at 5. Them and the Penguins, both have 5. So Blackhawks 6, Flyers, Penguins both with 5. The Red Wings, Canadiens, Bruins, Leafs, and Rangers all have 4. All right. Okay. Now, Colorado, Buffalo, the Kings, and the Capitals all have 3. So that's your top list. These are the teams that have appeared the most. Now, if I scroll to this column and say number of wins and sort it, you have to give me the top 4. So there's one with 4 wins, there's 2 teams with 3 wins, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 2 wins. And you only have to give me 4 without getting 3 strikes.
All right. So top winning teams. I think naturally we have to go with Chicago. I know that they were playing a lot of outdoor hockey, and that was most of which was during their glory years. So I'm assuming Chicago has to be on the list.
That's a big X. That is they did not make the top 4.
Fuck you. This was a big misdirect. I hate you. Yeah, and I'm also thinking, I know Pittsburgh played in a bunch, but I also don't remember them having a ton of success. So I'm going with the Philadelphia Flyers instead.
That's their second X on that one. That's a shame.
All right, you know what? I'm going to say Pittsburgh because...
Yeah, that's a check. They got 2 wins. They're tied in that big clump of 2-win teams. So you just have to guess 3 more. You already got the easy ones out of the way.
All right, so Montreal played in Edmonton.
Yeah, okay.
And Montreal also played in Regina, was it? Anyways, is Montreal on the list?
They also have 2 wins. Ding, ding, ding. 2 more to go. 1 strike left. Ooh.
All right. Oh, you know what? I think Detroit's had some success in the outdoor games.
Ding, ding, ding. They are also in that clump of 2. So we still got 3 more 2-win teams. We've got the 2 3s and the 4 left on the board. Grant, you just need 1 more.
Okay, I'm going to say, and I think it's because Colorado swept the series last year, and I think or 2 years ago, I think they played 2 games. Is Colorado also on the list?
No. So you got 3. Let's do losses quickly, see how you do there. You only get 2 strikes on this one, though. We're going to change up the rules a little bit. So can you get... We have a 5 loss, we have a 4 loss, we have a 3 loss, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 losses.
All right. By virtue of logic, as noted, I'm going to say that Pittsburgh is definitely on the loss list.
They have 3. That is a big ching, ching, ching. Yep.
And that would also, by virtue of Chicago not playing 6 and not being in the top list, they are also on the bottom.
1 and 5. Not a great look for Chicago. They do not like being outdoors.
You know who else doesn't like being outdoors? I guess that would have to be the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You already said Pittsburgh. That's your first guess.
Sorry, Philadelphia Flyers.
Ding, ding, ding. Grant, you're killing this loss column. You are a great guy at picking losers. So we have a clump here, this last little clump of 2s. If you can hit one of those... We almost call that successful. That means you went 7 of 8 of what I was asking with 3 strikes. So it's not terrible.
Buffalo's always sucked. Is Buffalo on the list?
Hell yeah, they have sucked.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, all right.
Man. No one likes losers more than Grant.
So that's not bad. So Grant got... Oh, no, he failed that one. So he went 7 and 3. It's pretty good. Like Grant thought that. Yeah, Chicago, Flyers, Pittsburgh... you got that. Wins, did we missed that. So the Rangers have the most with 4. The Bruins and Capitals both have 3. Who knew?
So the one thing that kept playing in my mind was Sidney Crosby getting donkey punched by, was it Kuznetsov?
Yeah.
Backstrom, something like that. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure they went on to lose that game. I should have drawn that line to say, you know what, the Caps must have won, but didn't. And I regret it, so here we are.
So you did okay. And those like O-Pee-Chee cards, that one's like the really paper ones where you got like 2 checklists last week. I didn't really like those. So we're going to open an Upper Deck Series 2. This one seems fat too. It's pretty exciting. You can have... See how many?
Well, I would say, is it an 8-card pack? Because I would say that I don't deserve more than half. I would say that was a pretty generous contest. So,
first half or back half?
I'm a back half kind of guy.
Back half, all right. So I'll start with my cards that I pulled out of this. I don't see any, like, cool jersey patch cards, so that's too bad. So my first card, I get Chris Kreider.
Okay.
Brendan Saad. When he was an Avalanche? All right. Tyler Toffoli. Ooh, that nice blue. Alexander Weinberg. Grant, on the other hand, he got a Tim Streutzel.
Is that a rookie
card? It is not. I don't think it is. Has to be, because it's last year's. Is it this year's?
And it's a hollow? Man.
Yeah.
I don't deserve that one, but...
Well, it depends on his rookie years. So maybe. And then you got a Craig Smith from your favorite Boston Bruins team. Matthew Binning from that sweet Tennessee Predators. And a Josh Brown.
Josh Brown? I took him off my DFS roster. This is a sign, Mick. I'm taking Brandstrom off. I'm putting Brown on. I don't care.
All right. Do it. I don't care.
I'm doing it now.
All right. Tim Streutzel.
Well, that was actually, that little German boy card I am happy about. You know what? Things were looking up for Grant White today.
Not bad. He's on my team. These are all good signs. All good signs.
But we're not ending the good signs there. I got to find where I dropped my phone here. Because a Canada Puck podcast would not be a Canada Puck podcast without a Babe of the Week. Now, let me get sorted and hope she's still up. Absolutely. Lina Perez? But her handle, Lina Rita, LYNRITAA. Lina Rita. Lina Rita.
I already found her. I wasn't listening.
And
nice
why
work.
would you? When you have this to look at, I could see all other distractions becoming a moot point because this lady has 8.4 million followers, and every one of them doesn't stand a chance because she's mine. Everybody back the fuck up.
I'm looking at your girl in a tub right now in a cowboy hat. It's nice.
Don't you dare.
Don't you fucking dare.
Take that back.
Oh, not a big deal. I just drink beer on the beach.
Ah, my only kryptonite.
God damn it, beer on the beach. Nice. Well done as usual. 5 minutes over. I don't know what happened. Is that baseball talk off the beginning? It just slows everything down.
We got all heated, all excited, all frisky. And we left you on an even friskier note with Lenarita. She's our babe of the week. Schwing!
Sweet. Nice. So with that, ends another show. We're done. Hopefully you take what we said to heart, you make some money, or don't. We don't care.
Yeah, we don't. And hopefully you can take what we've said and turn it into your own success. I consider the last hour and 6 minutes of my life a great success. As always, Mick, it's been a pleasure. But we won't sign off without saying, party on, Mick.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next week.